Penguin Random House Audio presents The Distance Between Us by Maggie O'Farrell. Read for you by Susie Riddell.
Part 1. He wakes to find himself splayed like a starfish across the bed, his mind running at full tilt. On the other side of the room, the fan turns towards him, then turns away, as if offended. Somewhere beside him, the pages of a book flutter, reel and divide. The apartment is filled with an inky light, and flashes of neon scissor the ceiling. Late evening. "Shit," he says, and raises his head with a jerk. Something soft yet integral between his shoulder blades stretches and tears like wet paper. Swearing and reaching round to feel for the point of pain, Jake stumbles to his feet and skates in his socks over the wooden tiles to the bathroom. His face in the mirror is a shock. The creases and pleats of the bedsheet have left reddened lines over his cheek and temple, giving his skin a peculiar, raw look. His hair stands up as if he's been electrocuted and appears to have grown. How had he managed to fall asleep? He'd been reading, head propped up on his hands, and the last thing he remembered was the man in his book descending a rope ladder into a disused well. Jake glances at his watch. 10:10. He's already late. A moth blunders into his face, then ricochets into the mirror, the faint powder on its wings leaving a mottled mark, a ghost of itself, on the glass. Jake stands back for a moment, watching it, tracking its course through the air, then snaps his cupped palms at it. Misses. The moth, sensing danger, spirals upwards towards the light, but Jake aims again, and this time he gets it, its delicate, confused body knocking at the cage of his hands. He nudges the lever with his elbow and pushes at the window. The roar of the street, 19 floors below, rises up to meet him. Jake leans out over the strings of washing and, opening his hands, tosses the moth upwards. It falls for a second, turning over, disoriented, then recovers and, catching a hot thermal draft from an air-conditioning unit down below, flitters into invisibility. Jake slams the window shut. He rattles through the flat, collecting wallet, keys, jacket, pulling on his shoes, left in a heap by the door. The lift takes an age to come, and when it does, it stinks of sweat and stale air. In the entrance hall, the janitor is sitting on a stool beside the door. Above him are the frilled red and gold decorations of Chinese New Year. A fat-cheeked child with tar-black hair rides astride a pink pig. "Gung hei fa choi," Jake says as he passes. The man's face cracks into a gap-toothed grin. "Gung hei fa choi jika." He slaps Jake on the shoulder, making his skin prickle and sting like sunburn. Outside, taxis splinter the light of the road's puddles, and an underground train shakes the pavement. Jake tilts his head to look up at the building tops. The year is turning from ox to tiger. When he was a child, he used to imagine the year at the stroke of midnight as a strange, mutant creature, caught in half-metamorphosis. He moves away from his building, almost crashing into a diminutive elderly woman pushing at the handle of a cart laden with collapsed cardboard boxes. Jake sidesteps her and heads south, past the basketball courts, a small red curbside shrine with a bouquet of spent joss sticks, past men sitting in a yum cha shop, mahjong tiles clicking on the tables between them, past serried rows of draped motorbikes, intricate webs of bamboo scaffolding, past restaurant tanks where doomed fish are stretching out their gills, searching for oxygen in the cloudy water. But Jake doesn't see any of this. He is looking up at the darkening clouds, humming as he walks, his thin-soled sneakers moving over the pavement. The air swings with incense, firecracker smoke, and the amniotic salinity of the harbour. The bus isn't coming. Stella pulls her scarf closer round her throat and stands on tiptoe to gaze down the line of traffic. Cars, taxis, motorbikes, the odd cyclist, cars, more cars, but no bus. She looks up at the screen that is supposed to tell her how long she has to wait. It's blank. She separates her coat sleeve from her glove to check her watch. She's on an afternoon shift today, and she's going to be late if she waits any longer. Stella stands for a moment, thinking. Is it better to stay and wait for a bus that will come eventually, or to start walking and get there just a little bit late? She could get the tube, but that's a 10-minute walk from here and might be delayed as well. She'll walk. It's probably the quickest way now. With a brief glance over her shoulder to make sure the bus still isn't coming, Stella sets off. The street is cold, unusually cold for this time of year, the ground sharp, gilded with frost that cracks underfoot. The sky is an uncertain grey, crazy paved with leafless branches. She's back in London for several weeks, no more than that, she hopes, working on a late-night radio show. She has a flat here, a bedsit on the edge of Kennington, but usually rents it out while she goes off to different places. A month in Paris, a stint in Moscow, half a year in Helsinki. She's not sure where she'll go next. Rome, maybe. Madrid, Copenhagen. Stella doesn't like staying in one place. She marches north, towards the Thames, her breath steaming, her body inappropriately warm inside the layers of clothing. As she takes her first steps on Waterloo Bridge, the city begins to split in two, the river opening out to her. The bridge was built entirely by women, she read somewhere once, during the Second World War. It's deserted today. Cars swoop past, heading north, but on both sides the pavements stretch out, empty. At the crossroads, Jake leaps onto the backboard of a rattling tram just as it's pulling away. The downstairs, murky and dim, is crammed, people filling the seats and clinging to the ceiling rails. An old man in a vest and faded trousers is nearest Jake, a bird cage held on his lap. From its pendulum perch, the bird regards Jake sideways with the tiny black beads of its eyes. The heads of the two Westerners on the tram sway above those of the Chinese. Jake thunders up the wooden stairs. He takes the seat right at the front, leaning his head out of the window, facing into the speeding breeze, and watches the cluttered, neon-scribbled buildings of Wansai slide into the slick, concrete and mirror edifice of the huge shopping complex. Jake's hair is dark, and his skin can turn to almost the same shade as his friend, Hing Dai's, if he stays in the sun long enough. But his eyes are the colour of deep water. He has a British passport, a British mother, and, somewhere, a British father. But Jake has never seen Britain, or his father, and has never been anywhere near Europe. Stella sees a solitary figure, far away at the other end of the bridge, heading towards her. A man, shrunk down by distance. She could raise her hand and encircle him with a finger and thumb. As if pulled towards each other by a string, they walk and walk and walk. He becomes more defined, tall, hulking, wearing a green jacket. Stella looks out over the river, where the huge wheel is sequined with lights and people small as insects swarm along the south bank. She swings the beam of her vision back to the bridge, to where she's heading, and the shock is so great she almost stumbles. She has to grip the wall with her hand to stop herself falling, and her heart trips and stutters, as if unsure how to continue. Stella stares down at the brown, twisting water of the river, then back at the man. He is closer again, and Stella wonders if he will just carry on getting bigger and bigger until he is looming over her, vast and terrible as a Brocken spectre. He is looking straight at her now, his hands jammed into his pockets. She cannot believe it. She really cannot. He has that swollen, white-pink skin, the same dense fuzz of red hair, and the eyes pitted deep into the flesh of the face. It's as if time has buckled back on itself, as if the years have swallowed themselves. Stella can feel the clammy give that skin would have beneath her grip, and the peculiar damp animal smell of his hair.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?